Alrighty, so avatar stuff does work now. It will work for, or would have worked for you guys, so it's not a big deal. What I'm going to do now is we're going to work on the contact service. So this one's going to be fairly small and fairly straightforward. I'm going to go and jump into the URL web service. I'm going to copy that comment and I'm going to say contacts. And let's just write all these down then. So the first one I want to do is a search users. So I'm just going to say get at API v1 users, and then I'm going to say void search users with a query of query called string query. And he's going to have a callback of contacts search users response callback. All right, so the next one I want to do is I want to do creating a contact request. So this will be a post because we're creating something, and it'll be API v1 users, or sorry, contact requests / user. And we're going to have void send contact request with a path for the user. And it'll be int user ID, and then a callback of contacts dot send contact request response callback. Then I'm going to have a put for API v1 contact requests user, and this one will be for accepting or declining a contact request, and it'll be called respond to contact request, and this will have a path again of user, and it'll have an int user ID, and it'll have a body of contacts dot respond to, well, in this case, this is interesting. It's actually going to be a little bit different on our API than it will be for the service itself. So in fact, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to do a body of a class we haven't made yet. We'll create it in a second. It'll be respond to contact request will be the body, and we'll just call this request, and then we'll have a callback of contacts dot, let me go ahead and expand this so you guys can see more. Respond to contact request response callback. So let's go ahead and implement our respond to contact request class. I'm going to do it in our DTOs section, and it'll be a public class respond to contact request, and it'll inherit from service response, or no, it won't, because this is a request. And the request is simply going to be a public string of response, and then I'll generate a constructor for it by hitting alt insert. All right, now that that compiles, let's move on to our removal of a contact. So this one is going to be a delete. So we're doing the delete verb here, which is a different verb we haven't used yet, and it'll be API v1 contacts user, and he'll be void remove contact path user int user ID, and then call back contacts dot remove contact request callback. And then we're going to have a couple gets. I'm going to have a get for API v1 contact requests dash sent, or / sent. These will be all of our sent requests, and this will be a void get contacts requests from us, and it'll have a callback of contacts dot get contacts request response callback. And then the next one will be also a get of API v1 contact requests dot received. So this will return all of our received contacts. So get contact requests to us. And this will be also a callback of contacts get contacts request response. And finally, I'll go ahead and we need to be able to search all of our contacts. So I'm going to say get API v1 contacts, and we'll do void get contacts callback contacts dot get contacts response callback. All right, so make sure you guys got all of those put together. Now let's go ahead and jump into our actual contact service, and we'll go ahead and implement this. There's not going to be a whole lot of code for this, fortunately. So jump into live contact service, and there's no helper methods. They're all just straight up subscriptions. So first, let's go ahead and subscribe to public void search users, and that will take a contacts search users request, and this will simply do api.searchUsers request.query, and then we're passing a new retrofit callback post, passing in our class and our bus. And that's it. Most of these are going to be like this. So then we'll have a public void send contact request, and this will be contacts.send contacts request. A lot of requests in there. And this will be API send contacts request. Now for the user ID, we're going to do request.userid, and then we're going to send a new retrofit callback post, and I'll just grab this, copy and paste it class, and also send in bus. Now we'll go ahead and do our, let's see, how about get contact requests, and this is going to be contacts dot get contacts request. And for this, we're going to say if request is from us, then I'm going to say API.get contacts request, or sorry, get contacts request is from us with a new retrofit callback post. Put in class and bus. Otherwise, we're going to do API get contacts request to us with the same thing here, the same callback. All right. Now let's do our respond to contacts request. This is going to be a little interesting. Contacts.respond to contacts request. And I'm going to say string response if request.accept response equals accept, else response equals reject. And then I'm simply going to do API.respond to contacts request. And for this, I'm going to pass in, for my user ID, I'm going to pass in request.contact request ID. For the request, let's go ahead and set these on new lines. For the request, I'm going to do a new instantiation of my special respond to contacts request, passing in response as the string. And then for my callback, it'll be retrofit callback post, and just like usual. And then finally, or no, we still got two left. Do a public void get contacts with contacts get contacts request. And then I'm going to go ahead and say API get contacts, and then we're going to do new retrofit callback post class request. Or sorry, bus. And then we'll do finally a public void remove contact, which will get a contacts dot remove contacts request, and this will be API dot remove contacts request dot contact ID, and then a retrofit callback post of looks like I might have messed this guy up. Yeah, it's supposed to be a contacts remove contact response, not a contacts request. So we'll do that. And then after we fix that, the autocomplete should fix this for us. Retrofit callback post, and it does. And we do class and bus. And that's it. So I guess go ahead and pause the video if you're still typing, looking at this. Otherwise, I'm going to hit run. And I actually have two devices now turned on. And I'm going to basically see if we can go about sending contact requests and see how that goes. So let's go ahead and hit play. I'm going to select both of these devices. One is an Android 4 device and one is an Android 5 device. All right, so let's go ahead and I'm going to register two accounts here. I'm going to do a Nelson 12 here on this guy, and I'll do a Nelson 13 here. Email addresses don't have to be unique. Typically they would be in a production application, but I have that constraint turned off in this particular case. But anyway, let's have Nelson 12 send a friend request to Nelson 13. I know I'm really good with names, aren't I? So if I search for Nelson13, I can send a contact request, and you can see it spins there for a second, it jumps back. Now if I jump over to my pending contacts request, check that out, it appears there. Now if I come over here to Nelson13 and refresh my inbox, I have a received contact request. So let's try rejecting it first. I'm going to reject it. We see it disappears, but let's refresh to make sure, and it did. And if I swap back over to my pending contact request, see how it disappeared on this side. So now let's try it again, but this time I'm going to accept the friend request. So we'll send the friend request, and then over here, I'll go over here and I'll accept. And now if I switch over to contacts on both of them and I refresh the contacts on this guy, notice how Nelson13 appears. So now let's try one more thing, and let's try to remove Nelson13. So let's go ahead and launch that. Oh, we won't have access to this activity yet to delete the contact because we haven't implemented the search messages yet. But we'll go ahead and we'll do that in the next video, and then we'll test the ability to remove a contact. So I guess we'll see you guys then.